Hello. Thanks for choosing to watch this actual play video for our Star Trek Adventures campaign called First Response, and this continuing episode, which shares the title of the episode before it, called Court of Opinion. This is the third session in our playthrough of this episode. We use an episodic structure similar to 70s television, as you'll be able to see when you watch the video. I'm adding this introduction to the video, which is not normal for us, simply to say that this week was a difficult week for me and my family, and so this session does not represent on my part very good play. So I'd like to apologize to the players for my lack of presence and engagement, as you know, we've all been quite distracted. And so, anyway, those of you who are familiar with the channel will have heard me speak of our dog Bodhi, who was a golden retriever, and like many golden retrievers, is fell prey to cancer. And on Sunday, she passed away after a year of fighting it. And so, anyway, I hope that next week the Game Master will do a better job. Okay, on to Session C. Does anybody remember what we did last week?
I think so.
I probably remember where we are about to start. Strangely enough, in Yang's quarters.
That's right. Yang's quarters.
Well, my tiny contribution to recap for last session is that we managed to escape the gravity trap minefield with a certain amount of sort of engine revving, at the right moment, to sort of scoot out of there after a rather difficult series of attempts. I mean, it was tough. There were some failed rolls in there, and there were some very, very strategic uses of momentum and stuff like that actually allowed us to scoot out of there without being trapped for hours and hours and hours. But this is the main thing from last session that was on my mind. Our new captain Wilkerson has rightly pointed out, I think, that we just don't know whether the ship we're pursuing, the Potemkin, is actually headed to Triacus, because it's going in kind of a circuitous route that suggests that there's meaning to the route in and of itself. It's not a beeline for Triacus. If we are headed, if we think Triacus is important, then we should beeline there. If we don't, if we think that that's just our best guess and that it seems to be doing this other thing instead, then maybe we are in the position of trying to, when we're at ground zero, we're starting from scratch. What the hell is it doing, and how can we stop it? Which is two unknowns. So we have a big decision to make about where we're going to go and why. And I confess I'm a little bit baffled on that one. But in the meantime, we have an interesting call that maybe the Gorn can help us with this.
Yeah, maybe the Gorn.
Let's quit screwing around with your stupid dad and talk to the freaking Gorn already. What is it they're trying to tell us? I mean, I'm liking all the family drama, but I'm a little worried about, the ship.
Right. Or eventually the Gorn ambassador looking at his chronometer and saying, "Well,
yeah, that's right. Excuse me, if you two are quite done with your family dynamics."
All right.
Books, every few days I have to tell a man or a woman something I don't want to. I've been practicing medicine for 29 years and I still don't know how to do it well.
Why don't you just say it flat out?
All right? You have a cancer. advanced.
Long before that picture was made, I did the same scene in real life. 12 years ago. Cost me a piece of lung. We've made real progress with cancer since then, and we're close to making more. But it costs money. The American Cancer Society is asking you for help again. You're pretty lucky. Could be the other way around.
Okay, so we returned from our second commercial break with Captain Desmond Wilkinson, Lieutenant Rodion Korsakov, Ensign Andrew Yang, and the subspace communication being beamed from Starbase 11. And as the distance is widening, the audio maintains reasonable fidelity, but the image is starting to become grainy, and there are moments of lag, and we know, being experienced crew members on the Avicenna, who has had a communications upgrade during her last refit long ago, that this is about the best that we could expect, and that somewhere at the communications console someone is working very hard to make sure that this communication comes through in as smooth an experience as possible. But every once in a while the image freezes or is distorted by static, or the United Federation of Planets logo comes up.
Sorry. I love that.
But the thread of conversation is maintained, even if a few things the participants want to restate, because they're just from a biological standpoint they're not sure if they were heard. And, but with all these main participants in the conversation present, Ambassador Yang steps aside, and the Gorn ambassador steps forward, and there's a brief communication from Wilkinson to the comm console on the bridge, instructing the officer there, which is not Anya at this time, instructing the officer there to be sure to tie in the most recent update to the Universal Translator, which has been authorized with his command codes.
Right.
So
the
Gorn will
Gorn
be
contacts
speaking.
being an ongoing thing, practically changing weekly, I'm sure. Gorn
Yeah.
Federation stuff. So,
So the Gorn will be speaking in its native language, and you'll be speaking in yours, but we will be hearing, the audience will be hearing English. All right. And so the ambassador begins with polite expressions, and the computer has modulated the hissing, and the computer has modulated the clicks and glottal stops relevant to the Gorn language into a mostly seamless male English-speaking voice to indicate, I commend you on your bravery in the pursuit of this most capable adversary. You may be curious to know what to expect from the crew of the Potemkin, and we are willing to share our medical and psychological data on these points. But I felt perhaps at first we should share the bitter and unfortunate context of the experience you are about to have.
better and better.
And the Gorn is holding this small globe type device which has small blinking lights on it, which he then passes over to Ambassador Yang, who is then seen connecting it to the terminal somewhere in the distance behind the Gorn. It says, we are now broadcasting, or we're now transmitting star charts with an historical overlay which you may find relevant of an ancient, and then there's this long pause from the translator. The Gorn is obviously still speaking, but there's a long pause from the translator. And then it supplies domineering empire bent on conquest, which overthrew the empire of, and then there's a long pause, worlds such as Triacus is the only thing the translator can come up with. So the Gorn have a word for an empire that predates the empire that it's talking about, and known to the Federation as the world of Triacus, which was a member of it. And that's how the translator has dealt with it. Where and now the computer is supplying Triacan Empire, where the Triacan Empire relied on supernatural abilities, the Trimenos Empire relied on technology to replicate and ultimately overthrow their overlords, chasing them back to holes on forgotten worlds such as Triacus.
Triacus, yes, that I see.
Now coming up on the screen, around the image, are worlds like Xenon 5.
Mm-hmm.
The hegemony has determined that, long pause, treasure troves such as Xenon 5 for the good of surrounding worlds and to prevent an outbreak of unparalleled warfare must be destroyed. Long pause. To that end, we are communicating with your Federation, the sites within Federation space that we have determined once formed the basis of the Trimenos Empire, such as their homeworld.
Oh, their homeworld's in our space. Swell.
And the dark heart of their military is how it's translated.
That's coming from the Gorn. That seems strong words. Right?
Their empire lasted a millennia across the stars. And their roving, pause, dark heart, pause, spread destruction, and birthed legends beyond imagining until their civilization was upended and overturned.
Saying dark heart like it's a thing. I mean, like it's a real distinct thing, not an ideology or something, right?
Right. So I think this is enough of what the Gorn is trying to communicate in terms of his opening salvo of remarks, but it's supposed to be a conversation, and the Gorn is obviously a diplomat. So let's open it up for questions and interaction.
The first from me would be what I just said, to confirm that the Dark Heart is an entity, object, or concrete thing rather than just an idea.
Legends speak of the Dark Heart visiting worlds and raining destruction, but also of summoning worlds across vast gulfs of space and consuming them.
It sounds like that gravity nonsense. We were looking at asteroids in one solar system. I mean, if it's talking about dragging planets, out of orbits and stuff like that, that's big.
Legends state that time and distance were no barrier to them.
My Trekkie fandom mind is tinkering up with space amoebas.
Yeah. We're talking about that, almost that scale of operation. Fortunately, not quite, but shifting up in scale there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm waiting for anyone else to ask questions or try for some dialogue.
Does Wilkerson have any comments on this?
Wilkinson is paying attention to Korsakov and Yang to a certain extent, but has a clipboard which is handed to him by the yeoman and is making quick calculations, maybe linking data points together from previous conversations, and Tomlinson or who knows what else.
I was about to say Tomlinson. I assume is at least on standby, at least. So, well, if we're talking about further questions, I mean, I am most interested right now in the crew of the Potemkin. And I know he's going to get to that, so I'm not going to push. I suppose. Yeah, I get the grand opening sepulchral voice backstory part. Let's talk about
right.
Let's talk about our current crisis. What happens to the crew of the Potemkin?
What happens to the crew of the Potemkin?
No, not what. Yeah, what happened? What is wrong with it?
Yeah.
What will happen?
Yeah, and therefore, how can we solve that conundrum that I remembered from last session?
All right.
If possible.
Now here's where things get a little more difficult, and the dice need to be involved because of what the Gorn is going to be talking about in scientific terms that the translator is not prepared for, or the audience is not prepared for hearing in the way that it is meant, if you understand what I'm getting at.
The consequential misunderstandings loom ahead.
So this will be insight, and command, unless you have a particular argument for your particular character to bring in some other discipline beyond the personal interactions of governed by command.
Well, only not a different discipline, but I would like to invoke my focus of ancient tech in case I happen to roll lucky.
Yep, that's definitely on the table, for sure.
And Yang assists in any capacity?
Or are we all just rolling?
I would like each person to make their own separate roll.
Then
but
Yang
if you would prefer to roll them together, that's also like
I'm good with separate. I mean, I don't
Yeah, I'm
have
good
a
with separate. Yang doesn't have
It's how
any
you want to imagine it, right?
applicable
Is each
focus.
person
Yeah,
sitting
exactly.
there?
We're all
Everyone
thinking
has their
about
own
it.
interpretations of things.
Yeah, yeah.
Although I would propose for Yang to take a point of momentum to buy one dice, and also so that he can use his untapped potential. He can
I
understand
like it.
gold for some reason.
Yeah.
All right. So are you fine with handling the screen? For
Yeah,
that?
I'll get to the screen and all right.
It's set up so you
I'm
can share it
taking,
if you like. So,
uh,
all right. So
let's-
I will
let's try.
roll for Wilkinson.
I was hoping that he would have his own. I'm not going to do anything fancy. I'm just rolling my ordinary 2 dice.
Okay.
Ooh,
Yang never fails to disappoint.
I am quite happy with my roll. $13 and a 16 for Wilkerson.
Yep.
And so that's failures, I imagine, correct? Or maybe 13. I don't know his scores.
What's the difficulty?
Good point. Yeah.
The difficulty here is 1.
Okay.
Wilkinson.
Well, I have rolled a successful die that meets my focus. So therefore, 2 successes. The other die is a boring failure, or does not succeed. Best put.
Does not succeed. Okay. And I didn't hear about Yang.
Yang has 1 success and also a 20.
Oh,
Okay. And also a 20, we say.
But
Okay.
since he succeeded, he still gets his challenge dice for untapped potential, which we can
Okay.
roll later on.
Blank.
blank. Okay. And my challenge dice?
For
Well, I had for Korsakov, I have. Am I misunderstanding? I had 2 successes.
Oh no!
Right.
Let me just read this 2 success.
he gets
have a
a
momentum.
challenge
Okay.
dice because of
Oh,
the
that's-
talent untapped potential.
Ah, okay, good
Korsakov
enough. Yeah.
manages to succeed.
Yes.
So that's okay. Success is good.
So what is it that I understand that I suspect nobody else does?
That's right. Wilkinson and Yang seem to be able to follow the conversation, but not the, like, not the actual technical parts of it. And
the
Gorn-
focus saved me, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Gorn has opened up the conversation by talking about the technology as found on Xenon 5. Wilkinson wasn't there. Yang was there, but apparently the way that the Gorn is explaining it is...
Well, and also, I mean, I was looking at the actual markings of the artifacts on Xenon 5 itself.
Right.
I mean, I was actually standing there looking at that stuff. So I'm tapping in more directly to what he's talking about. That makes sense.
Things are clicking into place.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Okay.
You can even see a little flashback image or two, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So he's talking about the wave, the energy wave, which was generated by the planet. And the first thing that he's trying to explain is that Xenon 5 is not a real planet in terms of having been created in its solar system. It was placed there and is, in fact, a shell with a planetary body around it.
That's why mining on it was such a great idea.
And that its primary purpose was to seek out and obtain samples of sapient races, sapient beings from across the stars. And so ships entering were at risk. But because the civilization had fallen, that this had been allowed to, drift through space around its sun for however long, the technology was no longer working the way that it had. But where they discovered the crew of the Potemkin was deep below the surface, near a cache of artifacts of war, personal artifacts of war, such as personal weapons and the like. But they found them in a place where they had not been. So when the Gorn sent their survey teams to the surface to make sure there were no Romulans lurking around, to make sure all the Federation had been removed, there were no other life forms present, but there were these vast underground storage containers, for want of a better word, capable of producing whatever form of life support would be necessary for a given entity.
So whoever showed up, chances were that the planet could seize them and store them. Not. I do have a question at this point. We were talking about dialogue.
Yeah.
Were any of those pods, aside from the Potemkin crew, occupied?
He says, this is where the mystery began for us, because they were all empty. Though a handful, and then he recalculates, and there's a very quick translation, nearly 400,
right,
had recently been active, but were empty.
Okay, well, that means the Potemkin crew was stashed there, as far as I can tell. I'm just glad that there's not an armada of ancient aliens all lying there ready for the Gorns. Like, don't worry, they're fine. We have them. That's I'm good. I'm good knowing that's not the case.
Okay, we'll get back to that point in a second. What he's trying to communicate is that they were, some 400 pods were in use. Then when the Gorn landed, they were empty. Then while the Gorn were occupying Xenon 5, the pods were suddenly refilled. And the crew of the Potemkin was there in a form of stasis.
Mm-hmm. And they were presumably
there's some weirdness there that that I'm not sure we're going to untangle anytime soon. But
then, as is reported, and Wilkinson is quietly sotto voce speaking to others, right? The Gorn freed them from the containments, and taking the Potemkin in tow, not taking the Potemkin in tow, but anyway, freed them and take them back to the hegemony, and then prepared this diplomatic mission, and then brought them and delivered them to Starbase 11. During this time, they did what you might expect. They examined them thoroughly for alien contamination, for all sorts of things. Because one of the reasons why they had sought out Xenon 5 was these legends, right? And the legends are real. The Romulans are interested. The Federation has landed. Something has got to be done. Defending their own territory. But Korsakov deserves an insight and security check at this point.
A new one?
Deserves it. A new one.
There's still that complication hanging over Yang's head.
I will get to that in a second.
Who's ever working the screen might want to siphon a momentum.
All right. Well, you already had an excess momentum that you earned in your previous roll.
Sounds good. I'm.
Taking
No,
off.
he
I
had,
want my
he
die.
had 2 successes on difficulty 1. So.
One.
Right. So there is 1 generated. I am now eating it.
Yeah.
Is that right? For another die? That's my plan.
Okay. So yeah.
Right. Ooh. And I roll with a 13 or less. All of my dice are under 13, but no foci are involved. So I have 3 successes.
Great success.
And so 3 get on the line, 3 momentum on the line. And
What's the difficulty?
2
Oh, yeah.
momentum on the line, difficulty
So
1.
goes on
got it.
the line.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
a
that
sounds
little
great.
little difficult
2 on
to
the line.
assess.
I
A
totally buy
Gorn
this as
ambassador,
difficulty. We are in the
or-
weirdness, right? Everything's hard. I'm good with that.
Well, there's that, but it's a little difficult to read that reptilian face through the universal translator for lying.
Talk to me about this lie.
But it seems like many species find it difficult to make direct eye contact with the person that they're lying to.
Right.
And when Korsakov asks, were they all empty? And the answer comes back, yes, they were all empty.
Oh, thoroughly.
There's this
So empty.
shift.
Yeah. So empty.
That's all.
Let me tell you about how empty they were.
They're so empty.
Hmm?
All right. So then the conversation begins to drift back toward this dark heart concept. Right. Near the end of, and he just lists off a time period which has no meaning.
Right.
And so the universal translator returns time period or epoch.
Right.
You know.
It's like fantasy novels. 7 aeons later, and you're like, oh, okay.
The Empire had evolved to the point where traps such as Xenon 5 are represented, or warfare sites such as Xenon 5 represents, were no longer necessary because the Dark Heart was set free in the void,
Swell.
able to move anywhere, anywhen, and bring anything to itself.
Set free in the void sounds wonderfully unpleasant. Okay, just to dial back a little bit, my initial insight success, not the lie check, but the one before that, the specific insight gained there was, I'm not saying you didn't say it, I just want to make sure I have it earmarked as that insight.
That the Gorn ambassador had lied?
No, the prior roll, the one that got me that momentum in the first place, the one where I made, remember the one that I made the success with the focus. Yeah, I just wanted
Right,
the fictional.
That's
concept.
what all this information has been about.
Good enough.
This is the
okay.
part.
So everyone else is kind of scratching their head about, wait, what's he babbling about? You know, is this getting mystic now? Right. So, yeah.
Right. Now the complication earned by Ensign Yang.
Yes.
I know you're all looking for something exciting, but I'm just giving myself threat.
Good enough. Yeah,
All
we
right.
haven't been feeding you as much threat as we did last time. You got to get it somehow, right?
All right. So
Well, Korsakov still has 2 momentum on the line.
Right. So
the
that's the
consequence
question.
of the threat.
Yeah,
The consequence of the threat merely being that something that Ensign Yang maybe could have or should have understood slipped by him, slips by all the others, and may come back to haunt us later. And yes, there's 2 momentum on the line for Korsakov to be banked. Or
I'm happy to bank those because it sounds to me as though we're still talking with this guy, and we can use them. I mean, Casey, my inclinations are always to try and buy advantages, or trouble for the foe later, right? Making us tougher is sort of my typical default for momentum.
And
we'll
just
see.
to clarify what I'm doing on my side of things, the Gorn ambassador is willing to have conversations, but if you want to bring all of your special abilities to bear, to pry information out of him from context or by trickery or whatever, then that's represented by the momentum spend of obtained
Absolutely.
information.
Right. Absolutely. Right now I'm ready I say, okay, I got it. Now I want to know what's wrong with the Potemkin, how they're thinking, and what they want.
Okay. So let's get others involved again. Wilkinson's going to abstain from this because he's not medically inclined at all. But Korskov and Yang serve aboard a medical aid and relief vessel.
Yep.
All right. So reason and medicine.
That's a pretty good roll. It's a good roll for me. So I'll do my 2 dice.
It's my worst numbers. All right. It is my worst numbers.
Okay. Go for it.
I have a success and a focus either on infectious disease or ancient tech.
Ancient tech will ride. Yeah.
Amazingly, Yang has 2 successes.
I am amazed by Ensign Yang.
He rocks.
He's probably thinking he has to change a career.
He has the best failures and the best successes of anybody. Right.
Okay. So in what is a much longer conversation that's going to be represented here, the Gorn ambassador presents the following findings without much justification. So the methodology is intentionally left out. This is one of the things that your multiple successes is revealing to you, is that the methodology is being left out. The crew seems to be highly adaptable to situations the Gorn believe do not represent the comfort zone of human beings, meaning they adapted just fine to pursuing and eating their food raw. They evidenced no, and then he kind of backtracks, they evidenced little awareness of bodily pain or discomfort. And most interestingly to the Gorn scientists involved, over the first few days of direct observation, they demonstrated 2 different brainwave patterns. While they were awake, they were far beyond human norms. While they were asleep, it matched their understanding of human biology. But
that's a big window. Humans need a lot of sleep. That's a big window of vulnerability for us. Yeah.
As time passed, these 2 separate signals approached unity.
Oh, that's not good. So I'm thinking Jane and possibly a number of others were sort of bi-brained for a while here. So, but unfortunately, every hour arguably brings them closer. And the Potemkin people were, and that this has been continuous for them. I mean, they haven't. This has just been.
It's months later,
probably,
yes, for them.
Yeah, months later. I mean, this is not good. All right. Maybe not as vulnerable as we hoped. Yeah, with early exposure, we might have been able to get to them, via sleep, but now probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, with all of our grotesque amounts of successes, I think that we are definitely aiming for more information, particularly in terms of motive. What do they want? What what was their behavior directed toward while under observation from the Gorn, not counting deception, because we get that part. We have seen expert acting on their parts. That we get. Possibly to the extent of even unleashing the human personality when needed. Who knows? But that's what we need to know. What are their actions directed toward?
Okay. So that is
Are
your
we
first
spending-
question. Spend
you
your
bet.
point of momentum.
Okay,
Yeah.
before we get to that, how many do we have on the line? From 2 successes for myself, and I believe
Right.
it's-
Difficulty was 1.
Okay, so we
For
had
each of
1,
us?
2. Yeah, for each of us, separate rolls.
So that means I have 1 additional
And I got
success,
2. So we have 3 on the line.
3 on the
Yeah.
line, right?
Mhm.
All right. So, gentlemen, take one away. Obtain information. He reveals one anecdote, and he includes this in the file. So these are things that maybe he hasn't really wanted to delve into, but the combination of Korsakov and Wilkinson and Ambassador Yang, kind of,
Well, I'm certain that either Yang or I is articulating, a pointed, well-timed question, that he
Right.
can't dodge. So,
and
yeah.
of course, Ensign Yang is the brother of one of the people that we're actually talking about. So there are specific behavior patterns which might be evidence.
Interacted with him directly, lots of room to, to think there.
So they did not
Details.
try
Yeah.
to escape, right? During any point of their captivity, they simply adapted and waited, biding their time. They did not take care of their health, much to the Gorn's consternation.
Interesting. So they all came back. Yeah, they all came back like wretched, but it wasn't the Gorn's fault. That's
It
kind
wasn't
of
the
cool.
Gorn's
Right.
fault, yeah. So what he's
Yeah.
trying to subtly communicate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We tried. We kept the cages clean, for God's sake. Come on.
But, and this is something that he obviously doesn't want to reveal for layered reasons. Not like national security or anything like that, but layered reasons. He said they displayed the ability to undermine our sense of reality to the point where we had to isolate ourselves from them.
No contact. We cannot have contact with them. Right. We were any. I don't know if I want to get this to spend momentum on this. I'll save this for later, but the thought balloon is were any Gorn actually suborned by the actual contacts. But I'm thinking to myself that, but I'll leave it off. That's fascinating, but not my problem right now. Still not getting the answer that I wanted, though. What
Did I
do
miss your
they
question?
want?
What do they
Yeah,
want?
yeah.
So that the ambassador, based on the data that he's looking at, his
Right.
what you pull out of him diplomatically speaking, his supposition would be that they wanted to get back into Federation space. And this is where he brings up the star chart. And they are not precisely sure where the Dark Heart is. But they do know that the heart of the Empire, not the heart of the Empire, the capital, the home world of the Empire, its system, because they've been sharing data with the Federation, its system is going nova, and many of its planets have been consumed by the expanding star.
Well, that's good news. Saves us if it's blowing itself up, then fantastic. Okay.
So his supposition is they wanted to get closer to one of those two locations in order to gain access to the technology of this empire.
Right.
Because he feels they weren't finished being processed by Xenon 5 when the Gorn freed
Got
them.
it. All right. So the location for this processing, the question is whether it's Triacus or if Triacus is kind of just, a bystander here, or whether it is on this path that they seem to be following. This path that they're following.
So this is where Wilkinson steps in, because this is what he's been doing on his pad. So he just shares his pad out of like the view range of the Gorn, and he's been doing calculations, right? And he's showing Triacus, and just imagine that we've got Federation space and Gorn space and Romulan space, and Xenon 5 is in between the three of those in a terrible
freaking
place.
Venn diagram planet. I hate those.
Exactly. And Triacus is deeper in space, very close to the Romulan border and that sort of stuff. It's way out on the edge of the Federation. This is where Federation archaeological teams would go and be abandoned for a year at a time. And
get supplied with salt and whatnot.
Exactly.
Right.
But the home world of this empire is far in the other direction, on the other side of Federation space. And somewhere in between that and Xenon 5 would be the legendary extrasolar orbit of the Dark Heart, free to wander the void and go anywhere. And so Triacus is in the exact opposite direction of where the Gorn believe that they want to go, that they would want to go if they were possessed by these beings.
I'm going with the Gorn. I'm going with their estimate.
Ensign Yang looks very thoughtful.
Which is to Xenon 5?
No. To the Dark Heart. Or its control.
Right. But we were heading to Triacus.
Not anymore.
If we decide to go to Gorn, we will be going the opposite direction.
And right now, the Potemkin is following what seems to be a rather guided route from ancient way station to way station, or
so they're trying to find
or maybe who knows if they've got, maybe who knows, they're picking up stuff along the way that they know about, whatever. But it is not a beeline anywhere, and it's not going to Triacus. That's what the captain told us last time. And so that's why we were, I was really scratching my head, which way are we going to go? If we keep chasing this little sucker, then that means that we're going to be dealing with every freaking trap that both Unders and ancient civilization are laying for us. And we certainly don't want to keep encountering those. We'll never catch up with them, and we'll get blown up eventually. So we don't want to do that. But we didn't have any other indication of where it was going. Triacus was looking less and less likely, as the captain pointed out. So now we can make a beeline
for the Dark Heart.
Assuming
we know where it is.
So on the bottom of Wilkinson's notes.
Well, that's what those extra information is for.
Right.
Where is the fucking Dark Heart?
Or how do we find it, right?
Yeah.
On the bottom of his notes, he's just written unlimited transporter range ?
That's true. Assuming what happened to the Potemkin. Or at least if there's a...
Well, we just have to keep from getting scanned by it.
alien facilities.
If the okay, Xenon 5 may not be the only model that we have, but it was a reactive scan. It reacted to scan us. It did not just, oh, look, a ship, zzz, right? And we are not, if we get to the Dark Heart first, then we don't expect it to be staffed by anyone, right, in order to, proactively scan us. So we've at least got a chance that it's not going to just zap us, upon arrival. And that it needs, at the very least, it needs a staff to do it, or it needs us to zap it, or basically alert it to our presence, which is what we did, which is what we all did on Xenon 5. Everybody did that, right? So in that case, I am going to sort of question my ongoing tendency to suggest that we could be wrong. This is no time for we could be wrong. This is the opposite of we could be wrong. This is we have to treat this as if we're right. We have to go all in. And so I'm not going to I'm not drawing a line through my value, but I am saying, that's not really my inclination. I'm going to go against my inclination here. And I'm not questioning my value. It's just, it doesn't apply right now. And so the question here is, do we or do we not go straight there and basically set a trap for the Potemkin, or otherwise, God help us all, try to deal with the Dark Heart ourselves? Which incidentally is not our mission, to go and capture this ancient weapon for the Federation. Nobody told us that, and I am disinclined to do so.
That's like a really small
I'm thinking another franchise of the 70s, might actually be the better model for what we're talking about here. Anyway, that's we've got that momentum sitting there. I want to beef ourselves up for offensive capability against this technology. We need to purpose our torpedo technology toward the vulnerabilities of this ancient tech. That's what I want. I want momentum on that.
Is that
That sounds like a different scene.
Okay, no problem. But in that case, we're still in this interactive informational thing, then I'm aiming toward the location of the Dark Heart, right? That's what's the Gorn got for us there. I want to know. I want a destination that we can zap toward.
So based on their archaeological excursion on Xenon 5 and other planets like it deeper in the Gorn hegemony, and this information is being shared much more willingly than anything else he's been sharing so far.
Oh, good. All right.
Out of a spirit of mutual survival.
I was about to say, it's like, well, we could send in a specialty Gorn ship to go and deal with this. Oh, wait, you're going? Fantastic. Let me help.
Let me help you do that. Yeah. Exactly what's going on. So,
was that the leverage?
Well, actually, a Gorn accompaniment, a badass little Gorn accompaniment ship might be just what the doctor ordered. But go on. Yeah.
They share, I mean, it's incomplete, obviously, but they share astrometric data. Some of it is pure legend, right? Where they have identified the target world laid waste by this empire, and this other legend from a survivor civilization talks about whatever this object is that is the Dark Heart, appearing in the sky, and right. So they've pieced together.
They've done the research. Yeah.
Right. So, using the Federation's databanks of where this thing is not, Right, has not been observed to be any of the following places,
Right.
plus the
That's a
places
good.
the Gorn are indicating it has been. And if it has been dormant, these are a series, an if chain, right? If it has been dormant because the civilization was destroyed, or at least fell, then there are very few places, theoretically, according to the Gorn, that it could be. And so, for the cost of that momentum, that obtained information.
Well, let's divide the galaxy into 4 quadrants, and given the one we're in, which one is that?
Right. So the Gorn has supplied all the information. We can believe that the Gorn has supplied all the information of this navigational data that they have in good faith. And
That seems, yeah, that seems like a good one. I can understand them fibbing about some of that other stuff, but there's no reason for a fib here.
right.
Right.
And so the crew of the Avicenna may be able to successfully plot the location of the Dark Heart if they all work together. Yes.
We don't do May.
They will then.
Mhm. Cool. Any hope on a Gorn escort?
A Gorn escort. Well, how would you approach it?
That's a good question. Well, I do have that little diplomatic focus. I might look toward Wilkerson and say, is there a possibility of a joint operation in the spirit of,
Mutual survival.
no, I was going to say, toward the spirit of mutual harmony, spirit of,
And he says,
galactic
this
goodness.
was raised, though the only Gorn vessel in range to respond to us at this time is the ambassador's own ship, and it is
Not a
not
warship,
officially a ship of war.
right, not officially. Hmm. Boy, if we were talking to a Klingon right now, we could say, think of the prestige to the daring commander. Think of the think of the think of the prize to be won. But I don't know how Gorn think about this stuff.
No, nobody at this point
Nobody
does, except
does.
maybe
Yeah,
Ambassador Yang. But if
right.
you wanted to take the conversation in this direction, you've got a pile of momentum. You've got Wilkinson, the famous commander. You've got Ambassador Yang with political leverage. You've got young, fresh-faced Ensign Yang who wants to free his brother from captivity. You've got all kinds of things on your side.
I'm saying we want to let's convince this guy to kick ass with us.
The ambassador of the Gorn.
Who else? He can say. Who's going to tell him no,
fallout.
right? I mean, he's got. We have no idea actually what the chain of command is, whether their ambassadors are separate from the military the way that they are for the Federation. We have no idea. And he did say officially, and we all went, oh, not officially. Yeah.
Unlike the dreadnought, or not dreadnought, unlike the heavy cruiser
right,
that showed up at Xenon
exactly
5, which was
the monster we saw already. Yeah, exactly. But still, I mean, but that's what we want. We don't want a dreadnought. We want an agile and flexible,
right.
maneuverable partner.
So you're
We
gonna do
want
it?
another Avicenna.
Are you going to push for it?
Absolutely.
All right, then. So let's turn it into an assist, because Wilkinson is an NPC and Korsakoff is a PC. This makes it a little more interesting for me to have Korsakoff roll, but Wilkinson, like Ensign Yang, has the collaboration talent, which would allow Korsakoff to roll with his command.
Ooh, even better, because my command's okay, but it's not that. I mean, it's not all that.
And Wilkinson's command is a 5.
Oh, right. Yes.
Maximum.
Huge difference.
Mhm.
All right. So this costs us
Collaboration with, right. Mm-hmm.
a little bit of momentum.
So we spent 2 early on. We had 1 on the line and still 4 others in the bank. Spend as you will.
We've got plenty to spend.
Mhm.
So should I'll go for, but it's 1 for 1, then 2 for 1 more, then 3 for 1 more, right? Okay, so the one on the line can go, and then so that gives me 1 more die,
Nice.
and ooh, what I'm doing is also racking up the possibility of complications big time here. After 3 dice, I get nervous, right, about the complications. So
Don't let math
so
get in your
that's
way.
yeah, I know. No, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it, especially because this is one of those moments where you actually see Korsakov, who's been all thoughtful, right, with his little insight, all these successes. His brows have been knitting, together up there, and these pointed questions. Then all of a sudden he gets excited. He's like, "Come with us." It's a whole mood shift, right? It's like, yeah. So that's my 4th die.
Okay.
With
So
momentum.
yeah.
Okay.
Complications, here we come. What could be complicated about asking the Gorn along in an unstructured fashion?
Ambassador Yang is going to be contributing an assistance die.
So let's hope, right.
This is his opportunity to make political hay.
Sounds good to me.
And
I am
what
rolling.
about Ensign Yang? Is he going to put in a personal?
You might as well. Yeah.
He might as well. But what would it be based on? How is he assisting?
Brotherness.
Are we using the system? Let's look at Yang's numbers. No values to see here. No collaboration, no gold.
Talents?
No, none of my talents seems all too relevant here. But I guess if he's looking, if Papa Yang is going to help Andrew move up the ladder, so to speak, with this little ploy, he might as well return the favor.
Right.
So that all debts are off.
Ah, there you go. Freeing yourself from dad. I am liking that. At last. It's like, finally.
Okay.
So Andrew is just doing an assist, right?
Yep, an assist.
No wonder assist.
Now this
Who's making the lead though? Lucasen?
Korsakov is
Nope,
making
this
the
is me.
lead.
Right.
The collaboration between
collaboration.
Lucasen costs 1 momentum.
Good. We do.
Oh,
We do.
so
Because that's a big ass
so
target
that's-
number shift.
Okay. So I will look forward to success and see if I end up contributing this die from the
So I'm
widely
dealing with
advanced-
a command of
Yes.
5, I believe, right?
Yes, command of
And then presence is the base. Present. Okay. So here it comes. 14 or less on these. Wow. With 4 solid successes, no focus. Whatever it may have been. Probably
So
diplomatic. but
Ensign
no.
Yang and Papa Yang.
That's great. No complications.
Presence and command. Andrew Yang gets a success.
Yes.
I have to re-roll because it's a cock die. Well, sadly, no.
It's good enough. We've got a 5 success roll here.
5 success. But what's the difficulty of that? So I can
The
read this, yes.
difficulty was actually 0.
Perfect. So that's
Now-
I
five
should
on
tell
nine
you
then.
something.
I don't, right. Well, that's good, actually. That does. That's a good thing. They're reasonably eager. Perhaps not necessarily in the best way. Obviously, the Gorn are going to want to, capitalize on this. So we might want to keep an eye if their little light fingers don't, nip up a bit of the dark heart for themselves.
Well, I can
But that's
give-
someone else's problem.
I can give Korsakov a little bit of insight for free as the security officer. The Gorn have a scorched earth policy, as
Oh, well,
was
that's a good thing.
evidenced on Cestus. So they clearly were just waiting to be invited. Starfleet Command did not invite them for whatever reason. They have accepted with gusto. But what does that mean about their tactics?
Right. Well, since we have all this momentum, I'm going to push again for some concrete benefit for this for future roles. In that, geez, I don't know where to go with. Should we just move ahead to purposing, the two ships' tactics together, some collaboration or some?
That can be translated as an advantage.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I want to get some advantage going here from our big old pile of momentum.
Okay, so there's some things that I'm going to put pause on here for a second.
Sure. Yeah.
This scene is the conversation, and subsequent
Exactly.
scenes can be about
Right.
whatever
Right.
is needed for making your plan. So if we're finished with the conversation,
Good
if
enough.
there's nothing to use your momentum in hand on,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I don't know if you're
Unless
looking at the momentum pool, but I think we've overflowed
Right.
by quite a bit.
No, actually, it will put us in max. It will maximize the tank at 6. But obviously, when this scene ends, we'll lose 1. So that will keep
Right.
us at 5 for subsequent scenes.
Casey, do you want to spend any of that currently before the scene ends, or should we close it out and have our 5 momentum in the bank?
I mean, yeah, I think we just close it out and we just
Me too.
and we just
Yeah.
All right. So then, as conversation comes to an end, Wilkinson moves to the door to unseal it before he does. And he says, "First officer, I expect a report on all of this within the hour, and I'll arrange a rendezvous point based on your findings, so that we can meet with the Gorn vessel."
Excellent. Well, we are going to chart a course directly to the presumed location of this dark heart nonsense.
All right, so that means the very first task facing you is to actually figure out exactly where
Right.
it is.
Computers, library.
All right,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
means
Parker.
we are beneath the bridge, right? In among the administrative offices and all of that, we have Tomlinson present. And as the first officer, it's clear that Wilkinson has put Korsakov in charge of making this happen. He's there. And Ensign Yang is the current navigator.
Right.
So he's there.
Okay. I was going to say he could be there by screen either way if he wants to be in a navigational spot, but whichever.
There would be no need.
Okay.
He could be there with
Okay.
the library computer
Perfect.
just as well.
Mhm.
And Korsakov could request the presence of any other experts he felt were necessary.
At the moment, I'm not sure we really need that.
Not including Parker.
I'm thinking that our poor engineer, is going to have to get, informed of this. But we actually have tried our best to make his life easier already. So he's the one person I'll be patching in later if we get, somewhere, with this. So
Okay.
yeah. Okay.
All right.
Our concern: location.
Right. The 3 most important things about space combat. This is an extended task.
Mm.
All right. This is not easy. We are plotting the location based primarily on data of where it isn't, and correlating that information with things like space legends that the Gorn have accumulated from their region of space, which borders Federation space but hasn't penetrated too far into it.
This is poor Tomlinson's little monologue about how hard it is.
Yes, he's like, we have to do what? Based on what?
Exactly. Well, I'm very reassuring. I'm like, and you're just the guy for it, when we know you can do this. Right.
All right. So, he brings up the star charts, and he takes all this brand new Gorn data overlaying the various epochs of these two starfaring empires, right? The one which dominated so much of this sector of the galaxy and then was slowly eroded by, this new technological terror, right? Whoever these original beings were, they could control, it seems, reality just with a thought. And their only purpose seemed to be to subjugate whoever they found out in space. They were destroyed, their empire sacked by these
the upstart, the
upstarts,
the next wave, right?
Using only technology, who then themselves collapsed into a forgotten empire that the Federation knows almost nothing about, except maybe some forgotten, archaeological outpost who's uncovering artifacts like Korsakov and crew found on Triton 8. So, based on all of this data, all these overlays coming in, we're discarding vast parts of the galaxy all at once because we know it's not here, we know it's not there. There's no way the Klingons would let something like this drift through their territory, and we're doing stuff like that, which still leaves a vast amount of space.
Big galaxy.
Okay, so now the work begins. This is an extended task with a magnitude of 3.
15 work.
This indicates how many breakthroughs are required.
Yes.
It has a resistance of 3.
Ooh, that's the ouch.
And it has a work of 20. And this is where things get difficult. Each roll represents 4 hours. This is the interval. So to accumulate 20 work, it's an open-ended roll. It's going to take as long as it takes. As you move through, we should expect any success to start translating into faster and faster.
Hopefully faster.
Right, so doing more and more work. Right.
Yeah, basically, we're whittling away at the time that
if you're lucky, it's a minimum. If you're lucky, it's a minimum of 12 hours.
Yeah. If we're lucky, that could happen.
If we're lucky.
All right. Now, meanwhile, the captain has set the course basically back in the direction of Starbase 12 or Starbase 11 in order to minimize the time to rendezvous.
Exactly. With every bit of information we get, we will move. We're not going to stay in place while we do this.
Right.
Good enough. New doggies. All right. Well, obviously, we've got Tomlinson, we've got the ship. All those things are engaged in this, but
you also will have an assistance die from the Gorn. You're going to be communicating via subspace.
Right.
They're going to contribute 1 die as well.
Oh,
that sounds great.
A lot of assistance though. Who's making the lead? Who's making the lead? Tomlinson?
That's your choice.
Well, we are talking sadly about navigation.
Navigation. So it's Yang. I'm guessing it's Yang's, which I.
Yeah, I agree. We are. I am even going to say, this is where you put it together for us.
Okay.
Right.
Now, this is going to be a reason and con check. Now, maybe Ensign Yang's reason isn't as hot as Tomlinson's, so there's a window there for collaboration.
If you use your
That's-
collaboration talent, you can use Tomlinson's
No,
score.
that's not. I remember how it works on
You
the
have to
text.
do the discipline. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
I've chosen my discipline. Unless
Yeah.
Tomlinson has the collaboration talent, which is interesting.
He doesn't yet.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Right.
yet.
Well,
Well,
he could actually.
note to self. Oh, we're bringing him back in,
Yeah,
and if
he
there's one
certainly
thing
could.
we want Tomlinson for, it's freaking collaboration, right? I mean, that's what we want him for.
Right.
Um,
That's what was
that
on my mind
particular,
when I made the suggestion.
yeah. That's I'm all for it. I am all for it. What else is he good for except collaborating? Oops,
That's why he was
did I say
created.
that? Yeah, did I say that out loud? Right.
Well,
If we are tying Tomlinson's collaboration with, that's the question though. It's science, I'm believing, that we are making this check.
so we would be using Tomlinson's reason and Yang's con.
Tomlinson's reason? Okay. Tomlinson's reason, Yang's con. Right.
Right?
Um,
That is superior, is it not?
it is indeed superior. Now my next question is the number of dice for this, and since this will be an extended task,
We need to get that one. We need to get that one success. We absolutely need that one success, so all the assists can pour in, including mine, by the way, which seems only reasonable. And so,
how many successes are we looking at possibly from the Gorn, from
the Gorn, from Tom? Well, not from Tomlinson. We're using his thing.
Tomlinson?
From the Gorn, from the ship, from me.
That's true. So I'm gonna have to bank my luck just to overcome the tree resistance from the tree resistance.
That's the hurdle right there. That is our.
Which means
is there a way to?
At least one success.
There isn't a way to knock that down where we're using momentum, right? To knock down the resistance.
No, if we roll an effect on the dice.
If you
Right,
roll an
okay.
effect.
Right.
But
so that's luck based.
so if we haven't done an extended roll for a while,
right?
So just so no one gets accidentally screwed. It's fine if you get screwed on purpose, but not accidentally.
Exactly. Yeah. Walk yourself off the cliff if you want to. Just know it's there. Yeah.
Okay. So we have momentum spins, right, for extended tasks. And if you're interested, this is on page 91 of our Starfleet Bible. And we see the table.
Actually, we can spend momentum to get piercing. So, but it's not immediate though. So we still
right. So
have
the issue
sure
is are the spins immediate or not? And they are not immediate, which means they are post roll.
Yeah.
So you will be able to do additional work, or you'll be able to ignore resistance if you generate enough momentum, and you'll be able to re-roll the work dice and stuff like that. If you get effects, the only one of the benefits that are available is progression, which is the character will make an additional work for each effect roll, and this is because of all of the collaboration that's coming in between the Gorn and the Federation. So this will be progression 2. So if effects are rolled, for every effect that is rolled, 2 more work will be generated.
Right, which is great. We actually really want to knock that work down. That's actually how we made it through the extended task last time, was by getting grotesque amounts of extra work, as I recall.
Right. Or triumphs, I guess. So, well, we have a pretty fat bank for now.
Yep.
And I think we need to spend those momentum to get the.
That's what they're for. We got momentum means momentum, right? We need to. Get that go-kart
so
going.
let's to improve our odds and let's not blow this out of proportion. I think I would spend 3 momentum for 2 dice. So let's put that on the line. And for all we know, that actually opens up Yang's untapped potential for potential momentum.
That'd be fantastic.
A
Yeah.
perfect time for it.
But as Yang's roles have indicated, results can be more interesting. So here we go. Okay, number 14. Wow, okay, this is actually very good. Yang has 3 successes out of 4 dice. And I believe most of it will have been largely thanks to Tomlinson's reason.
Okay.
So that
So
does,
now we can
however,
unlock-
permit
We can now
the
unlock the assistance.
the
dice.
assists, right?
Yeah.
Single die for each assist.
Yeah,
Yes.
each single die for each assist. I believe
Same
it's the-
criteria, Anthony. So it's going to be reason
Reason
and
and-
con.
Is that what you want to communicate as Korsakov, or
No, if I'm allowed to
make a suggestion, please?
Oh, okay. In that case, it does seem as though reason is called for, but in my case,
maybe presence.
I'm thinking reason and command.
Okay, to keep everybody
my
on
reason's
task.
actually high. Yeah. This is how are we going to organize this and keep. Okay, now what do you say? No, that sort of thing. So reason and command is my best bet here.
Okay, I like it.
Right.
And Ambassador Yang is leveraging the minds of Starfleet, bringing in connections and so on and so forth, and so he will be presence and science, which is not great, but there's a chance. Okay, so rolling, and we also need to roll for the ship, so I'll toss that in there as well. So the ship is blue, and Ambassador Yang is yellow, and
Ship gets a big old number. You have evaded the camera rather successfully.
I know, but the ship. Oh, you can barely see it. The ship got the delta.
Ah,
Ambassador Yang gets a 15, which is sadly
right.
not
I also
effective.
roll high and do not contribute a success.
Mm-hmm. So that's
Okay.
So that translates to 4 successes.
The ship has contributed 1, having no foci.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what we did need, but that does get us over the threshold of the 3 difficulty
The 3
by
resistance.
1 whole die. Yeah,
Okay.
squeaked through that one.
So
All right. So now, if you take a look at that momentum's spend chart, right? So now we're in the middle of the long roll. How do you want to utilize your resources to affect the outcome? You can see it on page 91, or Casey has included it in Teams, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay.
So we have 1. No, but here's my question: if we take piercing now to reduce the resistance by 2, that affects the next roll, and I'm assuming that doesn't affect the current roll.
It affects this roll. It's happening
Ooh.
now.
So that gives
So we
us
can get
2 successes.
that's right. So you can you can hamster wheel yourself with that.
So if you think
right?
about it, if you went
Right.
into this roll with no momentum, and you generated no momentum on the roll, then you're just left with your bare challenge dice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whatnot. But if you do have momentum in hand, there's nothing you can do prior to the roll. There's no immediate
Right,
spend.
right.
But once you get into the thick of things, then your teamwork matters in some way.
Right.
And, okay.
I think that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's the best one. Yeah, that's the best one for me as well. So we spend that 1 momentum that we got piercing, we cut it down to 2, and we get 2 momentum back.
Right. And so that's good. It looks as though it's coming together. right? It looks as though we're actually getting somewhere with everybody making sense to each other across this dialogue. Might even exclaim, wow, the Gorner actually helping out here. So that's good, right?
Okay. Did I roll the Gorn? I rolled the ship and
you can roll the
ambassador.
Gorn.
Yeah.
And
I
can
did
you
not
also
roll
roll the
it.
challenge dice for?
Yep. I'm going to do the Gorn first because that matters.
Okay.
Oh, everything's in darkness.
Not a 20. Or is it cocked?
It's
That
a
looks
14,
A 14. Okay.
I think that's a fail.
which sadly is not enough.
Fair enough. They try. I'm good with the try.
It's really close
but-
though.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to our
How
challenge
about
dice,
challenge
right?
dice?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the base challenge dice are 2 plus our lead roller.
Oh no, I meant for the untapped potential.
Oh, sorry. I got you. Untapped potential 1.
All right.
Momentum,
Right. So that's 3
which
on
is
the line.
bonus momentum. You've got to use it. So
Yeah, which. Well,
Oh darn.
No, well, I mean that one can easily just go to just reroll. Getting additional work.
yep, sure.
We're all about the additional work
Yeah,
here.
but now I guess we can roll for the work dice.
What is Yang's con?
Yes. On is 4. It's
Okay.
best.
So that gives us 6 challenge dice.
I
Oh,
see effects. I'm happy.
I see some things. I see things
This
we
is a
want.
Terrible roll.
Oh, believe me, there are
I think
worse.
that's the only. Okay, 1 effect and 1.
So yeah, so right now you've generated 2 work and 1 effect. The 1 effect, as I said, was progression of 2.
Right.
So that means
So
the
that's-
2 work
that's
that you
equivalent to 2
rolled
more work.
turns into
That's
4 work.
Right.
4 work.
Right.
That we
But
haven't
wait,
generated
and-
a breakthrough or anything.
Well, we could
Weren't any of
spend the
those momentum?
to
Yeah,
do
those
that.
momentum generated extra work too. Did they not?
And
They
the other interesting
can.
option is actually to re-roll the dice. How
Right,
many
so
empties we got? 4 blanks.
We got 4 empties.
4 blanks, yeah.
So I'm willing to bet 1 momentum to re-roll 4 dice rather than 1 momentum
am-
just to get 1 work.
Right. I am with you on that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll
That's-
move.
As the
That's
primary
where
roller,
the-
it's all you, but I'll cheerlead over here.
That's where the untapped potential goes away.
Yes, I completely hear you on this. This is all the acting. I mean, all the character look of the man he shall become. That's there right now. Oh no, you
blanks.
got to be kidding me.
Wow. You still have 2 on the line though.
hmm
You could abuse
Is it
this.
repeatable?
Yeah, I'm
No, that's actually a good question. Let me have a
Is reroll
check on that.
repeatable?
Reroll is not. So
So you've had your 1 reroll. Now what do you
yeah,
want
we
to
have
do?
so we have 2. I guess the only way to spend them is just to translate that as additional work. But there is the possibility of putting them in the bank for 4 on the pool. That will be helpful for the next standard task roll.
Okay, so how much work did we generate? I
generate
really
4.
would like a breakthrough. Yeah, but 1
Yeah, I
more
think
gives us the
that-
breakthrough.
Yeah, I think let's spend
Yeah.
1 just to generate the minimum of 5 to get
Right.
the breakthrough, and then we put 1 in the
Absolutely.
bank.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
can't see
good
leaving
work.
that behind.
So
And the
here's
rest
what
we
gets-
leave in the bank.
And there'll be only 1. Yeah. There'll be 3 in the pool.
So here's where things
nothing
get
wrong.
interesting, right?
Mhm.
So the magnitude has been 3. You have earned a breakthrough.
And 1. Okay.
So now the magnitude is 2,
Mhm.
right? Because you need 2 breakthroughs in order to finish it. And the
Breakthrough.
work
Mhm.
is currently 15.
Right.
Okay. And that has used 4 hours. Wilkinson has pushed Nigel Nickerson to go for warp 7.
Well, let's see. If we have some direction here, right? I mean, given our breakthrough, we say, okay, we got to go this way. We don't know for sure yet, but it's this way. Warp 7 this way?
So
Captain-
far he's heading back toward Starbase 11.
Starbase 11.
Right.
That.
Are we still going that way given what we know now?
Still going in that general direction. Yes,
Okay.
because
Well, in that case, yeah.
Triacus, etc., are all in the
You're right, all the way
opposite
over
direction.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. In that case, well, it's the captain's decision. So we're giving, give our poor engineer hell, I suppose. But
Now,
we don't have to have that argument.
going warp 7 comes with a slight complication along with it, in that the Avicenna is an older ship, and this adds
Yes.
2 threat to the pool.
Okay.
You want me to add that for you?
Yes, please, if you're there. Now,
No, 11.
ladies and gents, your second 4 hours. This would constitute a full working shift for the people who are involved. And if you recall, you worked a whole shift.
No, we're getting tired. I'm definitely
Right.
going to be starting to have designated like 15-minute breaks for people in between. So that's part of my command role here, is to say, no, I can keep going. No, you're 10 minutes down now.
Right.
Full downtime. 15 minutes
So,
you now.
If we generate any complications, they're going to be fatigue related.
Right. And I'm working my best. I'm doing my best to stave that off.
Right on.
Behaviorally speaking. Yeah.
Do you want to use momentum as an advantage to?
Mitigate this.
Oh yeah.
Okay, then please deduct 2 momentum from your stack, and we now have an advantage of Korsakov taking care of the crew.
Right.
Okay, and so I will not use complications for fatigue. I'll have to use them for other horrible things.
Yeah.
Okay,
I like the cost of 2.
make it happen. The next 4 hours.
Same numbers?
Nothing has changed unless you want to approach things differently.
Oh, all right. Now this is way harder, but comp resistance of 2 is more manageable with 2 dice. And I'm not so keen on emptying the bank.
Right.
I'm not so keen on paying it with threat just yet.
No, he's doing that all by himself. You may have noticed that. Right.
So it'll be 2 straight dice, and I'm assuming the same assistance dice will apply if successful.
Okay.
Am I still using common sense numbers?
That's up to you.
Reason?
Yeah, I think it's all the same.
Oh yes,
It has
because
Are you sure
you don't want-
that will cost momentum.
It has a momentum
You sure
cost.
you sure you don't want another die? Or the higher, it's worth it for either another die or for the better target number.
Common sense numbers.
Yeah. I like that target number thing. That matters a lot.
That is true. So then we are forced to reduce the bank. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, let's just reduce the bank.
It's what it's for. I think we have to.
Yeah.
Maybe all the assists will get luckier this time too.
Wow, okay. 1 success. So that's just enough. Just enough.
Okay. Here comes my assist.
Okay.
Such as it is. And I do succeed with the assist.
Okay.
That's
The
2,
ship.
So
Yep.
So that's a net 0 in terms of momentum.
Shoot.
Doesn't make it.
Nope.
Ambassador Yang.
Ambassador
And
Yang.
now it's Ambassador Yang's staff. Because he's
Right. He's had
He gets
time
to
to
see.
delegate.
is successful.
Hooray.
10.
Okay.
1 success on the line.
And a Gorn.
The Gorn.
You're killing me with your rolling. There you go.
Driving me
Yeah.
nuts.
Uh-huh.
7, also a success.
Also good. Okay, now we're talking here. Excellent.
The computer, have we rolled that yet?
Nope. I'll do it. Delta.
Ooh. Nice. So that comes up to a net of 4 on the line.
That's a pretty nice set of. That's going in hot. Let's use it.
All right.
So we
Same
don't
as
have
before,
to
you wanna-
we don't have to respend the momentum just to reduce the
No,
resistance
that
back to 1 again, right?
right.
You do
So
each
one
roll.
time-
It
Oh, I do? Oh, yeah.
yes.
So okay, so one goes. Oh,
Yeah, we have to keep that resistance down. Is there any way? Do you want to knock it down again?
no,
Is that possible?
we've already passed the resistance. We actually had
Okay.
6 successes.
Okay.
2 reduced, therefore we have 4 on the line now. So I think 4 is good. But then I think we'll keep the. Yeah, I think we'll just keep these just to see the work dice roll and see if we can run
Okay,
for
right.
breakthroughs or
Okay.
rerolls.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the
6 dice.
Challenge dice. Looks like a very
could be-
similar result.
Yeah.
2
See,
blank.
2 is a 1.
1 blank. 1 2.
Oh, that's good though. That's nice. Anthony, can you bump
So-
him over? We're not seeing him on the screen.
Oh,
We're
I'm
we're
sorry.
losing our
This-
we're
my
losing our
dice can is
you
useless.
see that feels better. I like
That's right.
seeing them all
So that's
glowing.
So you
at
rolled
me.
6 work.
6 work, no effects.
Boom.
That's still fine. That's another breakthrough down, and we don't have to spend momentum for it.
That's right. I would like to knock that resistance down to 0 if we could. That would be lovely.
Oh, spend another momentum for that.
Think about
is that necessary?
Well, I don't know if it's necessary or not, but it is beautiful to go into a roll with a difficulty 0. I just happen, it is
Okay.
nice.
Good enough reason for me.
Yeah. Mhm.
So that puts 3 back into the bank with another breakthrough. So that's magnitude 1 work of 10.
Yeah.
And
10 work.
10.
Right.
Leaves
Because
us
you
with
went
5.
into this with 1 resistance, so the 6 work that you generated becomes 5 work, but that's still enough for, right? So the magnitude becomes 1.
We are good with that.
1 breakthrough
Right.
remaining,
Right.
and 10 work remaining. Right. So that's
Excellent.
whichever way you approach it. Right. So
Okay, a little bit of role playing here because this is the second shift and everybody, their eyes are starting to bug out and everything. I'm going to call, role playing wise, we're going to take, and you can add it to the clock if you want, Anthony. It's a 15-minute, and we're going to do a little of the diplomacy because I do have my diplomacy focus, which is going to be to update everybody, update the Gorn on what we've got, update the Yang, Ambassador Yang on what we've got. We're going to keep all those cycles of communication going. And I'm going to snacks.
very important.
Yeah. I might even say, all right, everybody, never mind the food stores, your quarters, cough it up. Cough it up. Whatever's in the quarters, I do believe that there is some of a certain little vodka left and a little, a half a swig, half a shot for everybody is called for from my quarters. And I don't care how long you've been saving it from your grandmother's care package, but you're coughing it up. You too, Tomlinson, you too, Yang, whatever's in the quarters, get it over here and we're sharing right now.
So let's say then it takes 6 hours instead of 4 hours.
Wait, 6 hours instead of 4 hours. 2-hour break? Fuck that. I said 20 minutes maximum.
All right. Anyway,
Go get
so
those and we're
complications.
pound 'em and go.
Complications will mean it takes extra time.
Sure. Okay. Good enough. But I'm liking this. Everybody's got to pull out their Foot Locker and I know you were saving it for later, but now is later.
And everyone was expecting Andrew Yang to produce some sort of alcoholic beverage. He produces tea.
Good enough. Good enough.
Now, I'm going to spend 2 of my threat.
You want me
I'm
to
trying
do
to
that for
spend 2 of my threat. There we go. 1. And
It should bring it back to 9.
2. Okay. I just spent 2 threat. And I did that to increase the complication range.
Oh, ouch. We have
Better
squeaked
that
by
than
without
difficulty.
complications already. You know, we've been rolling our 15s and 16s.
It's still fatigue. It's like a 3 ship.
No, it makes sense.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't have it any other way, actually.
Right.
You know, knowing
Yeah.
the tension of our
It's not
fatigue is
It's not
important.
an increase
Right.
of difficulty, it's an increase of messing it
Right,
up.
so it's 18,
That sounds
19,
good.
20.
Right. I'm okay with succeeding with complications. Complications we can do. I want the successes.
Right.
Okay.
So
Let's make it happen.
That still puts 3 on the pool. You know what, Yang? For this role, I'm more than happy to spend all the momentum.
Yeah, it's what we got. It's what we're there.
So
We're,
1 for collaboration.
Yep.
1 for collaboration. Then that's 1 for an extra dice, so that leaves me with 1 that I can't spend. But with the 1 extra dice, I can use it for under potential again. Oh wait, that gives a good
You don't
question.
need to spend it for
I-
untapped potential.
Yeah, but I just need to check is that like that's 1 scene. Let me just do a
Once
quick
per
check.
scene. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it says only valuable whenever a character succeeded a task, they fall.
There you go.
Okay, it's not the 1 scene thing, right? It's even good. So that's fine. So I'm spending the two momentum, leaving 1 in the bank. So for Yang gets a 3rd dice, with Tomlinson's numbers.
Yes.
Off
Or
we
for
go.
his con anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Off we
Or
go.
reason, rather. Your con, his reason.
Oh, this is interesting. Okay.
Oh no.
I have 1
The word-
success.
How
I have 1
interesting.
success and a 1. I rolled an actual 1, so that's 3 successes, which knocks the resistance completely out. So any
Okay.
assistance success would be momentum in this case.
All right, so
Here
Gorn,
comes mhm.
Yang, ship in my hands.
Korsakov's. Ooh, with a 4. Sadly, not quite enough for a focus, but 1 from Korsakov.
Cool.
And a real nice array from our helpers.
Yeah, weirdly rolling
That's-
3 7s.
I think this.
I was going to say that's
Oh,
God's
I
roll
thought they
right
were all
there, right?
deltas.
The 777. Yeah.
777. That's good enough. Very
That's
lucky
good.
7s.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
that's
that's
4 on the
4.
line. 7
Mhm.
successes and 4 on the line.
Mm-hmm.
If we spend the momentum for piercing, we lose 1. We technically get back 2. Is that correct? Sounds correct.
The resistance is
But
for work. Resistance is for work. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, correct.
Right.
So
Yeah, I don't think piercing applies anymore
yeah,
with the
then,
difficulty
I
gone.
don't
Yeah.
need that here anymore. So I'm ready to just look at the work dice and spend accordingly.
okay. But clear away. Flight 777.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Delta.
And a blank. And a blank. And a 1. And a 2. And a blank. Three of your
Oh.
dice have not been doing their jobs.
Well, still though, I mean that's three whatchamacallits right there, and then the Delta with for an effect, right?
It's right.
The
So
delta is
the
correct.
effect also has
Oh, the
1.
effect
So that's 4 that you rolled. 4 work.
4
that you
out of
rolled.
5.
All work.
And the effect is progress, which is 2 more work.
To,
So it's
yeah,
a 6. You have completed the task.
We have.
without
Okay.
spending momentum.
Right. Right.
Always good.
Okay.
I'm very
And it has
excellent.
taken 12
12 hours. Right.
hours. And at the end of 12 hours, the crew, who have now worked more than a double shift, are
Oh, we're flat out, all of us.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
so we will take away 1 momentum for ending
See?
this scene of round the clock plotting, and we will have an exhausted Korsakov and Ensign Yang in the captain's quarters. Wilkinson has taken Anders' quarters, which have been empty since he was...
Yeah, I imagine they would have been. Yeah.
Didn't see him.
Right.
So this room is pretty much as Anders left it. So it's Anders' books, next to the terminal.
Ooh, creepy.
And curiously, the bronze ship plate that used to be on the bridge is here as the main focal point of decoration for the launch date of, the USS Dauntless. Right, which was replaced with the launch plate for the relaunch of the Avicenna. And so Wilkinson is also showing some signs of fatigue, but hasn't been doing the kind of heavy mental processing that the rest of you have. And so outside his door are 2 security officers, as before. And I don't know if I have ever made it clear, these are security officers that came with him from Starbase 11. So he says, "Report, gentlemen."
Destination has been determined.
All right. And so he, receives the micro cassette, plugs it into the terminal, and we are treated to a blank region of space passing through a nebula, and primarily unexplored, as it has been deemed of less immediate scientific value to the Federation. Right, a vast dust cloud, and no indication in surrounding systems of any contact with worlds there, so unlikely to be warp capable, and so it's just been on the back burner. There is a small flag that a small archaeological institute, from the Mars colony, have been begging the Federation to support an expedition into this dead zone, but has not yet been granted. But according to all of your research and coordination with the Gorn, this is where the Dark Heart, whatever that is, must be, and perhaps the characteristics of this region of space are because of the Dark Heart being there. All right. And so Captain does some, again, very rapid calculations and slides them over to Ensign Yang to verify. He says, at warp 7, we can rendezvous with the Gorn here at a point distant enough from the object for us to not immediately fall into a trap, I hope, based on your Xenon 5 data. And we can do it in an additional 12 hours at warp 6, which is the safe speed. But then if we do the calculation of where we project Potemkin to be, I foresee that we may wind up getting there too late.
We can't risk that. We need to be there. We have so many things up against us. If the other crew is operating without regard to their own physiological needs, if they are adaptable in terms of the conditions that they face, if they were thinking like humans, then their lack of coordination among one another, not being a familiar crew working with each other and stuff like that, would be a factor. But if they are simply adapting toward their purpose, then we can't count on that either. So we should expect that they get there faster. I mean, they actually may be killing members of their own crew to do this, right? There's people dropping in their tracks. So if we assume the worst, then they are way ahead. Your projections are too slow for the Potemkin.
Then,
Even at a faster speed, we'll be slower than them.
We have to. Yeah.
then, as my navigator and as my first officer, I have this recommendation to make, which, according to Starfleet protocol, you will both have to agree to. I'll also need the chief engineer to agree, but because I'm now become familiar with our chief engineer, I would like your agreement on my side, but don't take that as my ordering you to agree.
I do that. I draw the little diagram of the whiteboard and I go, understood.
So he slides across another of the big black boards, notepads.
I love this guy with his notepads. This is great. Everything's a scribble. Yeah.
Besides the
And-
security guards, this is yeoman.
This is a security clearance of commander and up, but as a captain, he has the discretion to make it available to his senior staff, which is you. He says this is unofficially known in Starfleet as the Wilkinson Protocol. Yes, named after me. And what he's outlining on it is a way to push an Alaric class destroyer, such as the Avicenna, to warp 8.
And that does what to our complications, Anthony?
Adds to our complications.
I was going to say, and the complication range is now 11 through 20. Right.
It will pay me a dividend in threat if we agree to do it. I as the game master will gain threat, which I can use to do things. But this is bringing the ship's legacy trait into.
Yeah, the only the
That's right.
okay. The I agree. Korsakoff agrees. I mean, this is just he that's his recommendation anyway. The utterly non-tactical theoretical question I have to understand the system is, if we didn't, wouldn't you just be getting threat anyway?
No, then I wouldn't get
Okay.
threat. Yeah.
Okay, but we would be late,
be
and that
late.
would be a different kind of
Kind of
that would be a
communication.
different kind of situation for us.
Yeah.
With all, you know what, that would no, we're trading off threat versus difficulty right now. That's what we're doing. Right, and I like threat better than I like difficulty. I hate difficulty. So that's
It costs 2 threat to increase
I know.
by 1.
I know.
Okay. So, do the two of you sign off on this stressful for the ship maneuver?
Yeah. But Yang's gonna keep it back in his head there. All right, we are now working with a very stressed engine by the time we arrive there. So he's now worried about evasive maneuvers if they have.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, but
So
hopefully, if we're
then-
there, we'll be able to lay the groundwork to do this on our own terms. What I really like to avoid is ship-to-ship combat with the Potemkin. Really don't want to do that. I want to
That's how
get there
people die.
first and I want to do important things, not just trade pot shots.
Years.
Yeah.
So our final scene for this evening will take place in engineering, as the exhausted Korsakoff and the exhausted Ensign Yang have been sent by the captain to
Oh, really?
Nigel Nickerson on board. Right, and the ship's already whining, right, because we've been
Oh no,
we're
we
cooking
know.
along
We know.
at warp
Right.
7 now, right? So,
Mhm.
and all the corridors are dark,
Right.
and large numbers of personnel are gathered in the group spaces, right? The mess halls and the gym. They're gathered together there, while their quarters have been taken off the power grid and the like. So engineering, the sound is quite loud, and Nickerson is there looking at dials, and his crew are working around the clock, and
So it's the only scene where Korshakov, Yang, and Nicholson are all having their eye bags.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right.
Everyone's been working hard.
Mhm.
Is this like a act of diplomacy, of convincing, or is this something
Right,
that
because
involves dice?
if you were to ask him, he would just simply say no. Right, the ship is not
Nope.
rated for those speeds, and it shouldn't even be entertained. What Wilkinson is suggesting is a battle
Warp
a
style,
battle tactic of extreme
recklessness.
risk, recklessness. That's a good way. Boldness, not recklessness, boldness.
I'm all for the boldness.
And now we have to convince Nickerson
That's right. So
that's
Nickerson,
the
like
right
he's
course.
almost like with a psychic premonition when the two walk into the room.
Right.
You know, like
He
he
couldn't
gets
even come
he
for
stands in
himself.
front of the board. You know, like
Yeah, exactly.
blocking it from
Exactly.
the two of you.
So while we're on the way, Yang is going to be asking Korshakov in the corridors, how are we going to convince Nickerson to sign this off? Both of us knowing that Nickerson is probably not going to sign this off.
This is all about the mission. This is all about the mission directive. And there's a funky thing we can do with the mission directive, right? That involves that later role. Talk to me about that rule, because I think now's the time when we actually invoke the mission of the Avicenna, not the mission we've been assigned to go and get the Potemkin, because bollocks to all that. I am talking about the mission of the Avicenna as such.
Well, if
The people of the Potemkin, the crew of the Potemkin, we know that they are not unsalvageable.
seen it,
This is I did not talk to the captain about this. This is for us. Okay, I'm going to say that. I'll even say I did not talk about this with the captain. He's new to the Avicenna and he's good, but he isn't one of us yet. And now I'm talking to you and us.
All right. So
This is what the Avicenna is for. It is to help those who are helpless. They are in distress, and that is every member of the Potemkin crew, including your brother, but not limited to your brother. Everyone. And they are not unsalvageable. And we are going to save as many of them as we can, even if we blow ourselves apart doing it. Period.
So
Non-negotiable, Nigel. This is not, I'm not
So-
convincing him. This is non-negotiable.
I can remember the portion that this is basically using the ship's value, and we can generally just go straight to make it so rather than 2 successes or re-rolling dice. My question is what is the resource that's being spent here?
determination.
Whose determination? Either one of us or
Whoever would be the lead on the roll.
I've
Would
got
be
the command. I'm the first
invoking
officer. It's got to be me.
that
Well, you see, that's the
value.
thing, though. I'm not ordering him. I'm saying agree or stand down.
Right.
Accept.
I'm just wanting to answer the question of what is that rule.
Oh, sorry.
So
Yeah.
the directive, if it's invoked, works exactly like a value. It allows determination to come into play. So
I'd like to do that.
When you do come face to face with Nigel, then how you approach dealing with him is entirely on you. And if you have no determination available, then you're going to be stuck. But yeah.
I believe that I have a determination available for this session or adventure. And I believe that I'm going to do exactly as you say. Andrew, how are we going to say? That's what I said to Andrew on the way. Now the question is, I'll ask you back and I'll say, so do I do this, nicely? He's tired. I was going to say, he's tired too. I mean, Now you know how I feel about it. The question is now, how do I talk to Nickerson about it?
Andrew's just going to remember something that happened in Xenon 5. And first thing that Korshakov told Andrew was toughen up.
Oh, you're going to hand it back to me, right?
It's like,
he's got to turn. That's all right.
Nickerson knows the rules.
Yeah.
He knows how this works when Korshakov is in play.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I'll go in, and then instead of like being all, sympathetic, Nigel, such a good Nigel, poor little engines, it's all the rest of it. And I say, it's time for our job. It's time for this is what we come, I'll even say to him, I say, what we came for. And you also know what we're all here for.
Do you want to let it ride like that, or do you want a little system advice / hint?
Oh, I'd love system advice / hint.
Okay. I don't want to
Meta
intrude
or
with
us.
just system.
No, meta or us. Please do.
So one thing that occurs to me is, we've got the experienced Korsakov walking down the corridor with the inexperienced Yang, and inexperienced Yang tosses back the toughen up line at Korsakov. But Korsakov is the first officer, meaning for the cost of 3 momentum, he can restore someone else's determination if he assists them on the roll. So if Korsakov were to pass this roll off onto Yang, Yang persuades Nickerson, uses determination.
And I use
Korsakov,
my first officerness to pop the determination.
And then you'd wind up without spending the determination, and you might get the effect, and you're forcing Yang to toughen up, and that just makes me find that
I'm loving it. Yeah, no, I love it. Yeah,
You have the momentum.
Now the question is, you have the momentum for the dice, and you can use whatever discipline and whatever you want for purposes of this roll. It doesn't matter what it is. We're not commanding him, right? Presence comes to mind, but I'm not. But it's up to you. You can use what you do best.
Well, Yang has a few focuses and values he can play with.
Yeah.
So as I said, Nickerson kind of like,
yeah, we know,
subconsciously steps in front of
right.
the engineering command console just to like shield it with his body from the two of you.
Or assault,
Right, and of course he's looking at Korsakov, right, expecting to be ordered to do something awful.
Not going to do that. This is not an ordering thing. Same reason for Wilkerson not ordering us. We don't do that. Right. So I'll just look at Andrew.
So this is where Yang comes in with his plea of the subordinates of the ensign ranks. That, as far as on the ensign rank, as navigator and helmsman, I'm approving this, and we just need your approval to get on this together. And this is playing on his a leader among men value.
Okay, so kind of disarming Nickerson.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything else to throw into the pot that might, adjust the difficulty?
Well, other than the fact that Yang is acknowledging the risk that if we push our engines, Yang is not going to really blame engineering that if that happens to be engine failure in a dangerous situation. This is a mutual understanding with Nickerson.
Okay. Well, let's take it to the dice.
My assist is involved, I imagine.
If Yang can get a success, it will be indeed.
So does Korshakov spend his 3 momentum here now?
No, if Korsakov spends 3 momentum at the end. It comes at the end after because he restores the determination.
Exactly, it has to get spent first.
Okay, all right. So this is where
it's an immediate spend, so Korsakov could also spend threat. So.
Oh, okay. No. So I'm just giving that promise to Nickerson. I think what I will do is I will buy 1 dice with momentum, costing 1, and I will buy a 2nd dice with threat, costing 2.
Okay.
And that will leave perfectly 3 on the pool. for Koshikov to do his thing. But
And we can
I'm
see the
trying to
connection with threat because we
tighten-
are asking the ship to take an actual risk. Yeah. Cool.
Yes. And that's a potential for unset potential, but let's see. Oh wait, that's 2 months. Sorry. There is no complication range to this roll.
Not a new. No, it's just 20.
No, it's still okay. So that I forgot what's the target number.
What
I'm
is the
guessing
difficulty? It's 2.
Difficult. No, the target number. I'm guessing it's presence
Oh, I
in
see.
command or
Yes.
presence
No,
in
you were.
comm?
It sounds like con because you're approaching it from the point of view of
Oh,
the
technically.
navigator, but definitely presence. Yes, presence and con.
Right. So that's 15. Then that's 3 successes, a 19 for the failure, but that doesn't matter. Is there any assistance involved?
Here comes
Korshkov.
mine. And I get a 5. So that's another success.
Mm-hmm. Can I suggest, or can I apply my diplomacy, my diplomacy focus for the 3?
Yes.
That sounded pretty diplomatic. Yeah.
Okay, so that's 4 successes from Yang and a 5th one from Koshikov against a difficulty of 2.
2
Yeah.
for 3 successes.
2, so that's 3 additional momentum on the line.
And were you spending determination from the value?
Oh, am I spending determination from the value?
I
yeah,
think
sure.
I have plans for
Yeah,
this.
sure.
I have plans for this momentum.
Yeah.
So that's 2 more momentums for 5. Is that correct? Did I do that right?
You could do it that way, or
Or we could
determination
just
could be used to
make
make it so to
make it
create
so.
an advantage
Yeah.
for this
Ooh,
scene
that's what we want.
only. It would be for the
Mutual-
scene only.
Oh no.
Oh.
No, I want
But,
an advantage going forward.
But this scene could be the rendezvousing with the Gorn, if you see my meaning.
Right, because that's what we're trying to get to.
So
How do we turn
Nickerson
that to
would
our
agree
advantage?
to follow the Wilkinson protocol, advance the speed of the Avicenna at great strain and personal cost, and then when we return in our subsequent session, we'll open up with rendezvousing with the Gorn.
And we will have an advantage in hand in doing so. Or not.
The advantage would be
just getting there.
The increased speed, getting there faster, making it possible to get there.
Oh, okay. So we're spending determination to make it so to get there on time. All right. That works for me. I mean,
it's acceptable.
And then I spend the momentum to give him his determination back, if that's what we're going to go for. Right.
Right.
I guess that works. Although actually now I'm thinking that it's actually a bit of a spanner in the works for that, because Yang has already spent his momentum for the episode. He actually
spent his determination.
He's already. Yeah, sorry. He's actually going into this situation with 0 determination.
Then the last 15 minutes were for naught. But
oh well.
But anyway, you could see how it would work. But no, they weren't
right.
for naught. But you
No,
guys pulled together a monumental tidal wave of successes.
Yes.
Well, yeah. I mean that means we're just gonna bank in the 3 momentum, and we'll have a full momentum pool, which is
nothing wrong with that. Going in with a full momentum into the next round is a fine thing to have accomplished.
Right. And we can emulate the effects of Make It So by creating an advantage of
that's what I would like to do. Yeah.
Faster travel. So take away 3 momentum, 1 for the scene.
And 2 for the advantage, which is good for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And that will bring us kind of stutteringly to the end of this episode, right? So there's our dramatic.
Yeah, that's not so bad.
There's our dramatic thing.
The crew's tired, and so are we.
Right. Yeah. And so we can hear the engines cycling up, and we can see Wilkinson sitting in the command chair with his coffee cup on the wide armrest, and we can see like rings of vibration rings in it,
and cuts the outside of the ship and the most badass warp effects, right, possible, right.
And that will bring episode or session C to a close of part 2 of Court of Opinion, and we go to another exciting commercial, which is probably going to be about snowmobiles.
For peak performance, Scorpion above all. The proven snowmobile that never lets you down.
Oh my God. Those commercials are so heinous.
Some of them are cool.
Oh, I agree. But I don't think I've ever quite processed the trope, NARM as thoroughly. Right.
Is there anything to talk about? I know we've gone significantly over our normal time.
Half an hour.
But
there are a couple, but nothing I think that we need. I mean, maybe save it for reflection or later talk if you desire. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm having a resurgence of the safety floaty mechanics back after this session.
Right.
That has resurfaced back into my mind.
Okay. I guess the only thing I wanted to say was in the last session, we had a strong focus on the supporting cast. And in this session, we had a strong focus on the main cast. And what I think is demonstrated is that the main cast can do an awful lot of things, and they have no cap, they have no ceiling of difficulty. Whereas the supporting cast are capped at difficulty 0.
Right.
So there are a lot of kind of gymnastics that were necessary in order to have the very difficult things done by the supporting characters when they're not being played. So it's something to think about.
Okay, right.
It's not a criticism. It's something to think about in terms of who do I want to play in a scene. What can I predict will be important in this scene, and who can we recruit to make our crew larger and all that stuff. These are, I think, part of Star Trek Adventures play, which might not crop up in something like Conan, where we're kind of expecting Conan
a small protagonist, right?
The main cast staying as the main cast,
right?
And every supporting character is supposed to be dead.
Right. It's also perhaps a bit of a Star Trekian comparison between the original series and the later shows. The later shows being far more ensemble. The original series almost. I mean, although it did develop a well-played cast, right? A well-played cast with actors who thought, okay, I want to play my guy this way, otherwise I'll go out of my skull with boredom. They're still, I mean, the focus was very much on a very tight, a very tight.
Which I think actually, it's more reflective of what Star Trek Adventures as a system is setting out to do, even though it's not based on, heavily based on.
Right. The Star Trek Adventures system is perhaps more optimized for a larger group and hence more of an ensemble of main cast, right? So if we dial it down to just a couple of us, then we're getting very much, I mean, main cast is real in this system, right? If you're main cast, it's a real mechanical thing. So
so it's interesting, I think, the feel. If we were to imagine Kirk, McCoy, and Spock being the main cast of the original series, and everybody else is either supporting cast or NPC, right? Someone like Scotty being maybe an NPC, then we get the pretty distinct feeling. And then when we think about
the pressure always comes back
Riker,
to the main characters sooner or later, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's interesting. Anyway.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Take care. Have a wonderful day.
Okay.